Hey guys, it's Shapey Gloria, and this time we're going to look at how form changes in elite runners as they run faster, specifically with long distance runners. I will illustrate this through utilizing the running clips of Mo Farah, an elite long distance runner of when he completed the 5K in under 13 minutes. During this specific race, I was able to get two good side views of him running during approximately 2/3 into the race at a pace of 2 minutes and 36 seconds per kilometer, and then him sprinting toward the finish line at around 2 minutes and 6 seconds per kilometer pace. Using these clips, I will point out a few common changes elite runners do as they run faster. Now, these changes may vary to some degree across all runners, but hopefully, this will provide useful information to improve the way you run. First, let's talk about two overall factors that ultimately make up a runner's velocity, which are stride length and stride frequency. Starting with stride length, people tend to overemphasize this. When one initially sees that increased stride length increases running speed, they may think to bring their foot out more to increase stride length. But this is a common misconception, as this may actually slow you down. But I'll talk about this in detail later in the video. Anyway, back to comparing Mo as he sprints. If you look closely, the foot position relative to the body does slightly go out more, but not by much. So where does the increase in stride length mostly come from? Well, first let's see how far the body itself actually moves. When comparing the distance traveled, you can see more of a difference. By using this object here as a reference point, this can help you see that difference in step length in both clips. It's not as far as it actually seems, as during the clip where he sprints, the foot starts off a bit farther away from the object. However, even if you deduct that extra distance, you can still tell that he still covers more ground with one step. Therefore, the increases in stride length is actually more of a product of increased force generation through the legs. To sum this all up for you, while positioning of the foot relative to the body does not change much, the increased power of the legs from the athlete allows him to propel farther forward, which is the real contributing factor to increased stride length when running at higher speeds. Now, the second part of the equation is stride frequency. If you compare these clips, you can see that Mo takes steps more quickly when running at faster speeds. Increasing stride frequency, or cadence, which simply means steps per minute, is something that most commonly occurs when we run faster. Actually, increasing cadence not only helps with speed, but it may also decrease risk in running injury. Based on a systematic review looking at the influence of stride frequency and length on running mechanics, findings suggest that increased cadence may decrease vertical excursion, aka excessive bouncing during running, impact shock, and ground reaction force, as well as increased energy absorbed in the hips, knees, and ankles. Now, even though there is evidence on this, I don't want you guys to solely focus on increasing cadence. Maybe try to incorporate a slight increase in cadence and see how that impacts the way you run. If it feels right, then that's great for you. If it feels very uncomfortable, maybe increasing cadence isn't the factor you should be working on at the moment. Now that we covered that, let's get into looking at specific parts of the body and what changes as elite athletes run faster. To really support some of this, the IAAF just recently published biomechanical studies that contains information on the joint angular data for the top 8 athletes during certain races from the World Championships in London 2017. In this case, here are the angular differences from the 10K and marathon races in those studies. It's pretty interesting stuff, and if you're a nerd like me, you can totally check it out yourself. I'll leave a link in the description below. Anyway, let's start at changes seen from the lower part of the body and work our way up. We will start at the foot, specifically positioning of the foot as it lands in relationship to the hips. As I mentioned in my previous analysis on Mo Farah, during this clip at a slower pace, this foot lands pretty much right under the front of the hips. However, there is a difference in landing as you move at quicker speeds. As you can see from this research study comparing joint angles in a 10K and marathon, as well as when Mo sprints in this race, foot landing tends to be a little more forward in relation to the hips during faster paces. This may initially look like overstriding, as common knowledge in running is for the foot to land under the hips. However, one needs to understand why people are taught to land under the hips in the first place. The reason this is taught is because that is where our center of mass usually is when we are standing. Now, when you're running, the center of mass shifts forward. This weight shift forward actually increases even more at faster speeds. This is also why it is much harder to stop yourself from when you are running very quickly, as to actually stop, you'll need to shift your body weight backwards even more. Since Mo is running at a quicker speed in this clip, his center of mass is more forward. Therefore, even though Mo's foot is landing farther out from the body, he still may be landing right around his center of mass, which is where you want to land for optimal stride length. How to incorporate this into your running is usually to let this happen a bit more naturally. People usually get caught up with the type of foot landing, whether it's the heel, midfoot, or forefoot, and they try to force this kind of landing, which is not always the best thing to do. Now, to land under the center of mass, don't focus on whether it's heel strike, forefoot, or whatever. Let that specific part just naturally happen, and just be more aware of where the foot lands in relationship to the body. You might need to practice this in the mirror to gain awareness of the position. Then, when you start running, a good reference point is to start with the foot landing under the hips, then modify this landing based on what feels right for you during that specific running pace. Looking back at the comparison of angular motion between the slower pace seen in the marathon and the faster pace seen in the 10K, you can see that there is a slight difference in knee drive. Though not as much, if you look closely, you can see the slight increase in knee flexion as Mo drives the knee forward when sprinting as well. As I mentioned in previous videos, this allows for improved cyclic motion to occur for efficient pathing of the foot as it progresses forward, as well as utilization of the elastic properties of the leg muscles. Now, some of the reason this occurs at higher speeds is because of increased tension in the quads and hip flexors, as well as increased force generation coming through the legs as it transitions to swing phase. Increased flexion in the knees as it swings forward also can cause a slight increase in step length. However, as I noted before, you don't want too much increase of step length where the foot is too far forward, otherwise it's known as overstriding. This is why, while knee drive is good to incorporate into your form, too much of it can cause overstriding, which can actually cause a braking mechanism to occur to slow down your running. A good way to practice optimal knee drive is to practice running over mini hurdles or small objects. You can usually start with objects that go up to around mid-shin to 2/3 up the shin, then progress the height a little bit as long as it does not feel too uncomfortable to do so when going at quicker paces. Just remember what I said about too much knee drive. The last thing I'll mention about in this video is arm swing. The magnitude of arm swing, aka pumping of the arms, is usually increased at higher speeds. You can kind of see this when looking at the angular differences in these studies, as the shoulders extend slightly more on average during the 10K study. This is kind of shown in Mo Farah's running at different paces as well, but clearly not as much. One of the reasons this occurs is to use the arm swing to counteract the rotational forces coming from the legs as it pushes against the ground. This is why as one leg swings forward, the opposite arm swings forward as well. As I noted in the beginning of the video, when running at faster speeds, increased force generation occurs at the legs. To accommodate for this, increased pumping of the arms is used to counteract this increase in force. Without doing so, this may cause an increase in side-to-side movement, which can make it difficult to maintain a straight path when running. Now with arm swing, the body usually takes care of most of the work. Just keep your arm movement relatively close to your body and let you and your body figure out how to adjust how much movement it will need to counter rotation from the legs. And those are just a few ways on how elite long distance runners change their form as they go faster. I definitely went a bit more in depth in this video compared to others. However, there are plenty of other things that usually change as they run faster as well. Maybe I'll make another video in the future to address these things. Anyway, I hope you guys learned a few things from this video to improve the way you run. I love all the support you guys have given me. For those who enjoyed the video and want to see more, please subscribe to my channel. Also, feel free to comment on what other videos you would like to see. I listen to all your suggestions. And as always, thank you for watching.